they start their preparation for interviews in the fourth year of engineering. How it is shown in movies, they assume that first 3 years of engineering are to just chill out and all of that. And anyways, we can just prepare in the last semester, very close to the placement season. The way people prepare for academic exams. But they need to understand that the BTech curriculum is for 4 years, and there is strong reasons behind that.
Hello everyone, this is 𝗥𝗲𝗃 from Smart Interviews and welcome back to our YouTube channel. So last time we set the stage and now it's time for part 2. So let's dive deep into the part 2 of interview success secrets.
Let's come to the part where you started taking interviews for your company.
Got it.
And your experience through that, like what you have observed in those students and what they lack basically.
Got
it. What was that experience like? Please do tell us.
So after my graduation, I joined Amazon to start with. And after that, about 1.5 years after that, I shifted to DSA. So I worked in both the companies for about 1.5 years each. At Amazon, I had very limited experience with taking interviews. Only there were candidates who came for in-house interviews. Only in the Amazon office, we were taking some technical interviews. I was not involved in the entire end-to-end process of taking interviews, but only some technical interviews was taken. But when I was in DSA, we were a part of an interview panel where we were involved from the starting stage of creating questions to visiting colleges, conducting the first online coding round, followed by technical interviews. In fact, giving inputs to the HR also of how to take the interviews of those candidates forward. So I can talk more about the DSA experience. There was a time when we visited one of the colleges where, like I said, we were involved in the entire interview process. So there were about 125 students who sat for the interview, and it was an online coding round which was done in the college premises itself, in the college labs. So we had uploaded the coding questions on a platform and the students were writing the test on that platform. So of course, during such coding rounds, we also take a round in the college labs just to see if the students are facing any issues or if they're able to do the problems on their own genuinely, to just ensure that there is no malpractices going on. So during that round, I was seeing that the students were making very limited use of pen and paper. They were implementing the first thought that was coming to their mind. And when they do this, a lot of times what happens is the first thought that comes and we start implementing it, that doesn't work. So a lot of their time was spent in debugging the code, and by the time the coding round was over. So we were able to select hardly 12 to 13 students for the face-to-face interview out of around 120 students.
Okay.
So that's where I found the first gap in the knowledge of students coming from these colleges. And when it came to the face-to-face round interview, of course, we had some questions designed very similar to the online coding round, and some additional questions were also there. So on both the front, students were able to think some parts of it, but not a complete end-to-end solution. They were needing a lot of inputs from our side, be it about thinking the logic or be it about converting the logic into code. So both the parts, we were providing a lot of inputs to the candidates, and only then they were able to move forward. So that was the second instance where I observed the gap in the coding skills of the students. Of course, finally, at the end, we were able to recruit one out of them. But if you look at the efforts that were spent versus the outcome that we achieved, that was highly unrelatable. So this is where a lot of companies are also facing challenge in the hiring process, that they spend almost 1 day in a college, and at the end of the day, they just get 1 or 2 good hires. So this is also a challenge which we are trying to solve by connecting with companies and informing them, that we have a pool of candidates who have been mentored by us on coding and DSA skills. And if you recruit from this pool, the hiring cost will come down from the companies. Hiring costs in terms of both the efforts, the resources, as well as the time being spent.
The current market is not favoring the students as well. Like right now, the hiring has been low and there are no jobs out there. And if there are jobs, they are not hiring from the tier 3 colleges, as we say. So what do you think? What's the problem there? Why is it that?
The job market is very volatile as of now. If we talk in simple terms of supply and demand chain. Currently, the supply is very high and the demand is very less. So, of course, the negotiation power is higher on the company's part rather than on the candidate's part. So, of course, there are companies who were offering 3-4 lakhs of package to freshers previously. They have introduced multiple slabs of hiring. They've introduced like 6 lakhs, 8 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 12 lakhs of hiring slabs. Depending on candidate performance in the interviews, they will put the candidate in the respective slabs. But also there are incidents, as we saw recently, companies also reducing their initial offering to students. But again, like I said, the power currently lies on the side of the companies. So the demand is less, the supply is more.
And so how can an engineering student can overcome this situation? So like, what do they look for as an opportunity?
So multiple things over here. Firstly, a student should not be just targeting the MNCs. A student should also be targeting to work at startups. The learning curve a student will have as part of a startup will be much higher, and the learnings of the students will be much different from MNC. In MNC, a lot of things are already established, and the student only works on very limited system, very limited features. But in a startup, there is no boundary to the work individual can do by being in the tech team. So they get to explore a lot of things, and the learning curve is generally much higher in a startup. I've also seen a lot of students getting good opportunities from startups. But again, that startup is not known to anyone. The startup maybe has 50, 70 or 100 students, 100 candidates in the company. But at the same time, they get offer from a well-recognized MNC such as Accenture, TCS, Infosys, Wipro, Cognizant and all that. So even if the CTC is higher in startups and a bit lower in these companies, they still opt for these companies because of multiple reasons. Firstly, it becomes very easy for them to put forward to their family, friends and all of that where they got placed. And secondly, they also look at job security. But the primary thing which the students are missing out is that at the end, their learnings will matter. If after your beta you got into a very good company such as Amazon, Microsoft, there is no question about it. But if you're choosing between a specific set of companies versus startups, students should prefer startups. They can do a bit of research about the startup, like when was it established, since how many years it is running, and what's the future projection of the startup. Based on that, they can make a decision. But joining a startup is always a good idea for their learning journey.
How important do you think it is for the student to learn data structures and algorithms? And how do they perceive it?
So if you talk about DSA, DSA is the building block of anything that exists out there. If you pick up any software that you use, like tell me 3 applications that you use on a day-to-day basis.
WhatsApp, YouTube, Instagram.
Right. So if you look at any of these 3 applications, say WhatsApp, YouTube and Instagram, they have multiple features within them. And all of them, of course, at the back, there is code. And they are built on DSA. They are built on data structure algorithms. When you use these features, you don't face any latency, you don't face anything loading slow or anything of that sort. Of course, one reason can be your slow internet connection, but from the application side, there is no such issues as such. So all of these are written in highly optimized and highly scalable codes with the help of data such as algorithms. So they are the building block of any system that exists out there. So if a company is hiring for software developers who are going to build future products, they need those candidates to be strong in DSA. They need those candidates to build systems which are optimized and scalable at the same time. So DSA is building block of everything. Like if somebody is trying to learn machine learning or AI, even before that, they should have good knowledge on DSA. And as part of learning DSA, they should be solving at least 300 to 500 coding problems in multiple online coding platforms so that they also get habituated to converting logic into code. At the end, when you're working with AI ML also, it's about finding optimal solutions, finding optimal algorithms, and then converting them into code. So again, whatever you do as part of your learning journey in DSA will be applied for anything else that you work on. Even if you're being hired as a full stack developer, at the end you'll be writing code, at the end you'll be building projects. So even for that, you need good knowledge on coding skills. And how students have to go about it, I would say that from first semester onwards of their BTech journey, they should create profiles on at least 2 or 3 coding platforms, be it HackerRank, be it 𝗏𝗄𝗃, be it Codeforces, be it LeetCode, and they should solve 30 to 40 problems from every platform. And they should continue doing that semester after semester, at least for the first 2 years. So first semester, they generally learn C programming. So using C programming itself with bit of mathematical knowledge, they can solve a certain set of problems. Then in the second semester, when they learn data structures, using that, they can solve another set of problems. In the third semester, when they learn algorithms, again using that, plus the existing knowledge that they have gained so far, using that, they can solve another set of problems. So it's very important that the students start solving coding problems online, on their own, genuinely, of course, right? Because all of these platforms have open codes for all the problems. Students can always find those codes, which they should use for their learning purpose. But it's important that they start coding in the early days of their BTech.
So learning about DSA is something that need a certain kind of discipline, if we can say that. But sometimes when I talk to students, sometimes I get to know about their mindset, like how they basically perceive it and how they started learning, like talking about it, learning about it, and started doing, like they are basically following the rules, but sometimes they don't feel confident about it, like whether their approach is right or wrong. As you said that in an interview, it's a give or take. Like if the discussion is healthy, you can go like on and on about it.
Right.
But how can they feel confident about it, like during the interview rounds that they are going through?
So, see, if students have practiced well in online coding platforms, they obviously write the code, run the code, and submit the code. If the codes are getting accepted, they know that they're going in the right direction. Their thought process is valid and their codes are also validated. If they have done enough practice, I don't think they have to fear for anything in the technical interviews. So from the technical interview perspective, it's all about your preparation. It's all about whether you have done enough preparation. If you have done enough coding, you don't have to do any extra preparation as such. So in our engineering days also, we did not have any sort of mock interviews. We were doing coding continuously, and the same thing was something we have to put forward in the interviews. So there was no concept of mock interviews. But today students are going through 100 different things. They're going through mock interviews, internal mock interviews, external mock interviews. But I feel that if the students have the right technical skills, they should be able to put forward their thought process. Again, if their thought process are original and genuine, they should be able to put forward it very easily.
What if they know all the answers, but still they are feeling nervous about it? Like, how do they feel calm about that particular environment that they are in?
So I have seen these situations. I have heard about these situations. So what has gone wrong is that the way they have prepared for interviews is probably just as an individual. When you look at preparing on technical content, you can't just read and prepare like that. You have to also discuss solutions with your friends. You have to also discuss different approaches, different ways of solving the problem with your friends. So for example, what we used to do was, say today there is a code chef contest. We all wrote the contest individually. But after that, we used to bounce off ideas of each other, saying that I did it using this, how did you do it, and all of that. So that used to involve us into discussions. When we are indulged in such discussions, it's more or less the same situation in an interview also. So, but we have been doing that continuously through the 4 years of BTech. So when we come to interview, it doesn't seem like a new situation. Only nervousness that can come in is because whether I'll get the interview, whether I'll get the offer letter or not. So there may be a company which really matters to me, and I may lose it just because I am nervous in the interview. So it's all about being able to communicate what you know and communicate in the right way. So you should not be talking too much during an interview, as well as there should not be a long silence in the interview. Whatever your thought process is, it's always important to put forward that thought. Maybe the interviewer will validate that thought and say that this direction seems okay. Can you think more about it? Or the interviewer may say that I'm not sure if this direction will work. why don't you think of a different direction? So that also helps you move forward during the interview process. A lot of students, what they think is, I have a very basic solution for this problem. If I put it forward, it may put me in the wrong wrong position. So why don't I think of a better solution and then put it forward? But that's not how it works. Whatever solution you have, you put it forward and then you build on top of it from there. A lot of students, once they are asked that, okay, your solution looks good, can you write the code? They just keep writing the code continuously for 5 minutes with a long silence. That's not how it should be. It should be more like, okay, I'm assuming that this is a function which takes the input and this will do this part. So now I'm writing 2 nested for loops to generate all the pairs, and then to check if the pair is valid or not, I'm calling a separate Boolean function. So you should explain while you're writing. It helps in multiple things. Firstly, you yourself are validating the thought process that you are coding up. Secondly, when you give the code to the interviewer to validate, the interview will take less time because you have already dictated what you have written. So it also helps you optimize the time for the interviews. So like I said, you should not be silent for a very long time, and you shouldn't be talking continuously. You should just gather your thought process, put it out, have a discussion, and again continue working.
So now that you have jumped from a corporate world to a business world, and you yourself has become a boss in yourself as well. So, and as a teacher, so what was the plan? Like how, what were your thoughts like when you were starting? Like, this is how it should be done, and down the line, what it became.
Got it. So, see, when I started initially, there was no idea of it being a business, or no idea of how much students or how many students we can.
First, I'm sorry. So, first, let's just talk about, you said that you had a stage fear. How did you overcome that? Let's start from the beginning once again.
Yeah, so that was very different. So what I did was, so I knew that I wanted to deliver my knowledge of DSA to the students. That part was clear, and I obviously did not know how to do that, or how to go about it. So what I did was, with a couple of my friends, I just prepared some content for how the course should look like, and I started teaching my friends as if I was teaching my students.
Okay.
So that's how it started, and so I practiced. I basically practiced in front of a mirror. I practiced by recording a video of myself and see how I was sounding and all of that. So that's how it started. And of course, the first few sessions which I took was not so good. But of course, these practice sessions which I went through, that helped me overcome that fear. And I started with a batch of just 10 students to start with, and that was done alongside my job at DSA. So that part was a bit experimental for me, I can say, but that's what gave me the confidence and the motivation that this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to continue with. And after completing that first cohort of about 10 students, the students were happy, I was happy. It felt more satisfying than what I was doing at the job, and that's where I made the decision of quitting the job and starting this full time. So after that, I didn't have a plan as such. I thought that I'll continue teaching students as many as I can, and if the students are becoming successful, that's pretty much it. So initially, I was taking the session as an individual, and I was having maybe 10 students for the first time, about 18 students for the second time, 33 students for the third time, and so on. That was growing in that way. But I never started this as a business. I always started this as a passion. So my salary at DSA was about 26 lakhs when I exited the company. I was earning around 2 lakhs in a month. But when I started Smart Interviews for the first time, when I started, the course fee that I kept was very minimal, which was just 6,000. And I had about 10 students join the program. So if you do the math, it's just 60,000 over a 2 to 3 month period.
Yeah.
That was not comparable to what I was earning at 𝗍𝗍. But again, like I said, where I started this was not as a business. I started this as a passion. I was like, if I teach well, of course, more and more students will come to know about it, and I can reach out to more and more students. And of course, if they become successful, that's a win and reward for me.
Yeah.
So slowly, this got into an expansion mode where we had more and more students coming in, more colleges approaching us for taking such programs, and that's where this the course of Smart Coder that became enhanced, and now it's become a 14 to 16 week course. It's about 120 to 150 hours of program which we do for students of various backgrounds, be it student from second year, third year, or fourth year of college, or be it a working professional. At the same time, what we have also done is we've introduced a basic course called Coding 101. So the students who struggle with the fundamentals of coding, like solving basic problems from, say, arrays, math, string, patterns, matrices, it's meant for those students so that they gain the right foundation on coding fundamentals, and then they can opt for a course such as Smart Coder, which becomes a bit advanced for them. So we have seen students who joined Smart Coder previously, but they were unable to cope up, and they had to take a break and again work on the basics and come back for the next batch.
Yeah.
So to solve that problem, we have introduced a beginner level course as well.
Okay.
So students who think they do not have the right foundation, they are struggling with solving basic problems, they should probably opt for Coding 101. But the students who have the right foundation, who have solved about 50-100 problems online already, they should opt for a course such as Smart Coder.
Okay. So within the course, how should a student approach learning a new programming language? Like, should they learn like most of the language that is out there, or like is it something that they can do it like with?
So we don't recommend student to learn multiple programming languages.
Okay.
So personally, I would say that if a student is strong in one language, be it C++, Java, or Python, they should continue with the same language. Learning a new language is just about learning the syntaxes of that language. If you keep switching the language, you will never have an in-depth understanding of a particular language. Even when it comes to interviews, companies look at students having in-depth knowledge of at least one language. But if you keep switching languages, that will never happen. And your focus will shift from learning problem solving to learning new language, which should not be the focus of a student who is learning coding and programming skills. And see, of course, if you look at the industry, Java is a widely used language.
Yeah.
We do recommend students to switch to Java if they know Java already. But if the student is unaware of Java at all, if they know C++ or Python and they're comfortable with it, we recommend them to continue with the same language. And so it's very important that during this course or during any other courses that students take, they structure their day. So all of these students will be either working professionals or college students. Anyways, their day is occupied from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Their day is already occupied with college activities or office activities. So apart from that, they'll hardly get 4 to 5 hours in a day. They have to plan that part so that they can actually work on upskilling themselves.
Yeah.
Any course that a student is taking, they should at least dedicate 1.5 to 2 hours every day to continue working on the material of that course. Otherwise, the objective of joining the course will not be fulfilled. I've seen a lot of students who continue learning DSA through multiple channels or YouTube. They ask me for recommendation of books that they can go through. I told them no books are required. Nothing is required from YouTube. You just start solving problems through online platforms. And if you try a problem, you're unable to do it, you anyways have the solution available. You look at the solution, you understand it, and then you code it up. So instead of jumping from channel to channel or book to book, start solving things practically. That's what will help.
So after spending more than 6 years in the industry, like as a teacher, so are there any stories, like funny stories that you would like to share with us?
Oh, there are many. So I remember one incident where, it was a lab kind of a setup. And you understand how a lab setup looks like, right? There are multiple rows and multiple columns.
Yeah.
And as an instructor, we can move between the rows just to see what students are doing.
Yeah.
So we used to observe that the students used to block those ways with their bags just so that we could not go in and we could not see what the students were doing.
Okay.
So that was one situation. Of course, I did not realize it first. One of the students told me later that this is what we used to do. So this came from a student, and so then what I did was every time I go to a session, I tell them that, keep the pathways clear of your bags. This is the first instruction I give to the students. And one other time I saw a student, switching to different tabs and referring to online sources for the code, be it GPT or something else. And students used to quickly close the window that they were using. They did not know that, we can do Ctrl+Shift+T and we can go to the previous open tabs. So I used to do that in the systems and see what they were watching previous to I came to the system. So these are a few things that I do in the sessions.
Student thing to do. So as you said that, how do you see yourself as a teacher? Are you a strict teacher? Are you a teacher which is cool with whatever they are doing? It's just that don't do that in front of me. It's like that, or is it a mix of both?
So it's a mix of both, but it's more oriented towards being a strict one, except the last session.
Okay.
So students do tell me that, I did not see you smiling so far until the last session. So yeah, I try to maintain the discipline because I feel that discipline is the first thing they have to learn before they learn to code. So if they're disciplined, they don't just learn this coding part, they can learn anything else also that they want to. And this is something that has come to me from my college experience, because we used to have very strict discipline throughout the entire academic curriculum. And I feel that is what has made me what I am today. So I feel that the same thing should be imparted to the students as well.
Okay. For our next session, it will be a quickie, you can say rapid fire. Okay. So I'll be asking you some questions, and you have to answer it as soon as possible. Whatever, what's the first thing that
I'll try to.
Yeah. Okay. So most valuable non-technical skill for an engineer?
Communication.
Okay. What's the most important depth or breadth of knowledge?
It's not a one-word answer. You should have breadth. You should have knowledge and breadth about a lot of topics, but few topics you should have knowledge in depth.
Okay. And best practice for whiteboard interviews?
Write before you think before you write.
Okay. And your advice for dealing with interview rejections?
Just get over it.
Okay.
Just look forward for the next interview. Just take introspect, take your learnings from it and use it in the next interview.
And most underrated skill in the tech industry?
I would say creative mindset of a developer.
Okay.
That is never tested. That never comes out in any interview discussions or anything. That's never tested in any interviews.
And a quick tip for handling tricky technical questions?
Just talk it out.
Okay. A book or a course that made a big difference in your career?
No specific book or course as such, but there was a course in our college called IT Workshop, which introduced us to multiple things at the same time. It introduced us to Linux programming, it introduced us to scripting, it introduced us to a bit of HTML, CSS, bit of databases. So it was a course which gave us exposure to multiple aspects of engineering. So that course made a lot of difference.
Okay. So if I give you the chance to go back in time to your younger self, what advice would you like to give to your younger self?
So there were situations which came to my life where I had an opportunity to learn something new, but I let go of it because of probably other commitments, less of lack of time, or probably I didn't find it interesting at that time. But now that I look back, I should have taken those opportunities to learn those things, because those opportunities may not come again. So there were few courses in the college life which were on the advanced scale, and they were optional courses. So I decided to skip them because I thought, what's the use of learning that at this stage? It won't be useful. But now I don't have the opportunity of learning that anymore. So I feel like I should have taken up those opportunities.
Okay. to our viewers, like who will be watching this video, like can you give us a word of motivation? Close your argument, I guess, Your Honor.
So, especially for the students who are in BTech, I recommend that they start upskilling themselves from the first year itself. They should not look at BTech as something which is just for fun or just for learning. It should be a mix of both. They should have fun while learning. That's the objective of doing BTech.
Yeah.
In fact, nowadays people are moving away from official education to informal education, where they completely focus on skills.
Yeah.
And that's what students should also focus on in their BTech journey.
Yes, that's all. That's all for today, sir. Like, thank you for doing this, and it's like, and it was really a fun talking to you like this. Let's do this once again, but not in front of camera.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you liked it. To enjoy more content like this, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please let us know in the comments what other content would you like us to create. Thank you once again, and we'll see you in the next video.